council meeting, a historic day in Canada. We'll see who's the new government or old government or whatever may be the government. We acknowledge that the land on which we are gathered is Treaty 2 land, known as First Nations territory, homeland of the Anishinaabe and Ojibwe and the Métis Nation. Moved by Councillor Laughlin, seconded by Councillor Stakilo. Be it resolved that the regular council meeting agenda be amended as follows. 5A1, proclamation for Toastmasters Week, and 9C, fall cleanup repeat of Area 4 and partial Area 3. Any questions? Call the question. All in favor? Motion carried. Also, we have two councillors are involved in an election, so they are not here. And Deputy Mayor Bellemare, depending which side you're on, she'll control the right wing or the left wing.
All by myself over here.
Moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Eilers. Be it resolved that council accepts the regular agenda as amended. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Eilers, seconded by Councillor Stakilo. Be it resolved that council waives the reading and accepts and approves as circulated the minutes of the following meeting, the regular council meeting of October 7th, 2019. Any errors, omissions? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Laughlin, whereas the Municipal Act states, Section 160, paragraph 2 states, each member of council must attend the public hearing unless the member is excused by other members from attending the hearing, is unable to attend owing to illness, or is required under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act to withdraw from the hearing. Be it resolved that council excuses the following council members from the October 21st, 2019 public hearing scheduled, that of Councillor Kerry Riel and Councillor Rodney Juba. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Bellemare, seconded by Councillor Eilers. Be it resolved that council now adjourns to hear the public hearing and appeal hearing as scheduled. First, we have a variance application. I don't think there's anybody appearing, but we have to go through the process. I'll proceed with the public hearing for variance application 12-04-1605-00/VO/1901/08 for owners Terrence Faulkner and Rose Faulkner, and applicant Irwin Law Office, care of Ruth Bergen, for Lot 8, Block 68, Plan 359, DLTO 715 Main Street South, to vary the minimum dwelling attached carport side yard setback from 1.5 meters to 0.747 meter, and the minimum dwelling interior side yard setback from 1.5 meter to 1.387 meters in a residential family zone for the purpose of issuing a zoning memorandum on this property. Any questions of council? Seeing none. representation for this public hearing are now completed. Next is the appeal hearing to hear the objection of or appeal to city order to demolish the dwellings at 224 3rd Avenue Northeast under Property Standards Bylaw 10/2017. Council is present to hear one notice of objection appeal received as a result of the city sending an order to comply to the property owner listed above. Chair asks the appellants to present their information and comments, and council may clarify any information given by the applicants through the chair. The chair may ask the enforcement officer for any additional information or comments. Council may clarify any information given by the enforcement officers through the chair. So, Wesley and Lillian Hertzai?
Yep.
Do you have anything to add on your demolition order for 224 3rd Avenue Northeast?
There's no reasons for demolition.
You are the owner of it?
Yeah.
And your reasons, please?
What?
Why is there no reason for demolition?
Well, look at the picture.
Yeah.
The pictures are right there. There's worse places in Dauphin than ours, and nobody's touching them. So why are we always picked on? We're getting this in process already. I picked up a door. The door's going to be put in today. Is putting in
The back room.
at the back room.
The windows are ordered, they're half paid for, there should be next week.
We paid half for the windows, and I wasn't going to order windows for the winter because first you have to get the police to be involved for smashing windows. Those two windows on the north side. You see the house there? The two plywoods?
Yeah, I have pictures of.
Brand new windows, smashed. And then after you go to where the kitchen, window smashed. The east side, the window smashed. So we're going to be putting all the $6,000 worth of windows, and they're going to get smashed. We put a door in today, and he's still in process yet. And are they going to smash the door?
I don't. Go ahead.
This is where the police have to come in and get the law in there. They arrest them, and the next day they're out. Doesn't make sense. So what's the use of having police? Let them do whatever they have to do. We got McMoney Yates code for everything. Everything's in process.
For the insulation and
Now reconvenes to the regular council meeting. Moved by Deputy Mayor Bellemare, second by Councilor Locken, be it resolved that the public hearing for variance application 1204-1605-0/19-01/08 for owners Terrence Faulkner and Rose Faulkner and applicant Irwin Law as care of Ruth Brigham for Lot 8, Block 68, Plan 359, DLTO 715 Main Street South, to vary the minimum dwelling carports side yard setback and the minimum dwelling interior side yard setback in a residential single-family zone to comply with the City of Dauphin zoning bylaw be now concluded. Questions? All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Bellemare, seconded by Councilor Eilers, be it resolved that the appeal hearing for the order to demolish the dwelling on Lot 6, Plans, Block 67, Plan 379, DLTO 224 3rd Avenue Northeast be now concluded. Any questions? I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion Moved by Councillor Lockman, seconded by Councillor Eiler, where the due notice was given with respect to variance application 1204 1605 00/VO-19-01/08, and whereas no objections were received to the application, be it resolved that variance 1204 1605 00/VO-19-01/08 for owners Terrence Faulkner and Rose Faulkner and applicants Irwin Law Office, care of Ruthberg and Lot 8, Block 68, Plan 359, DLTO, 715 Main Street South, to vary the dwelling attached carport side yard setback from 1.5 meters to 0.747 meters, and the dwelling interior side yard setback from 1.5 meters to 1.387 in a residential family zone to comply with the City of Dauphin zoning bylaw for the purpose of issuing the zoning memorandum for this property, be approved with the following conditions: to comply with the Manitoba Building Code, the carport walls cannot be sheathed or closed in to create a garage, and the existing carport cannot be reconstructed in its current location. Any questions? I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Loughlin. Be it resolved that items under 5 consent agenda be approved as follows for part of these minutes. The proclamation for Toastmasters Week. Whereas Toastmasters International, headquartered in Inglewood, Colorado, I thought it was California, and it is a worldwide nonprofit educational organization that empowers individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders. And whereas the organization membership exceeds 357,000 in more than 16,600 clubs in 143 countries, and whereas Toastmasters International has helped people from diverse backgrounds become more confident speakers and communicators and leaders, and whereas District 64 Toastmaster manages 101 clubs with a total of 1,400 members in Manitoba, northwestern Ontario, and northwestern Minnesota, and this year is celebrating 60 years of service. And whereas in its mission of 64 to build new clubs and to support all clubs in achieving excellence, and whereas throughout the week of October 20th to the 26th, Toastmaster clubs will be hosting open houses, themed meetings, guest nights, and anniversary celebrations, capped off with a gathering of representative members at a Toastmaster Leadership Institute to be held in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And whereas our local club, Speak Up Parkland Toastmasters, dedicates itself to helping Dauphin and area residents to improve their public speaking and leadership skills. And whereas Speak Up Parkland Toastmaster meets at the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays at 7 p.m. at the Centerpoint Community College, the Roblin Room, and is open to all interested parties. We therefore, the Council of the City of Dauphin, do proclaim October 20th to 26th, 2019 as Toastmasters Week. Dated at the City of Dauphin in the province of Manitoba, this 21st day of October 2019. Next, we have outstanding water bills. One this time, $184.13 at 26 Center Street. Previous tenant did not pay the final bill. Recommended filing items. AMM News Bulletin of October 11. Member advisory, new AMM, executive director, that's Dennis Volkov. And Dennis has been with AMM and we have a good working relationship, and congratulations to Dennis. We should write a letter. And Parkland Director's Update of October 9th, 2019. Federation FCM Asset Management Workshop, Prairie Mountain Health Plus newsletter, October 2019. Chamber Third Quarter Update, Mountain Conservation District Water Festival, Manitoba Ombudsman processing FIPA access request, Minister of Municipal Relations, the 2019 Municipal Operating Grant, Property Registry, the Special Services, as recommended by the Mayor and City Manager. Any questions? I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councilor Addis, seconded by Councilor Stikal. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information, the following corporate reports for the October 21st, 2019 meeting, that of the regular council meeting, and that of the city manager. Go ahead, city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over the last couple of weeks, I've had a few meetings, not as many as September, but still a few meetings. And some of them were over the phone, so that's a little bit less time taken for them. On October 8th, I met with the Canadian Municipal Network on chlorine prevention and regarding the participation of the City of Dauphin in that network, and we're working on putting that together. On October 8th, I went for the first time, actually, to the Dauphin Rail Museum to meet with the new president and to discuss the lease agreement there, and I'm going to speak a little bit more about that later in my report. On October 8th, I also met with a developer regarding an existing development agreement. We had a management meeting on October 9th, and as well on the 9th, I did have a meeting with the Municipal Emergency Coordinator and the CAO of the arm of Dauphin regarding council and staff training for our roles and responsibilities during municipal emergencies. And October 16th, we had our Parkland Regional meeting. And October 17th and 18th, I participated in QB 857 union negotiations. To give you a few updates of a little bit more detail, in the Human Resources Department, that still seems to be a thing that, an item that has been taking quite a bit of my time. We continue with the recruiting process for the Economic Development Manager. And as I said, we spent a couple afternoon and evenings on our local union negotiations, and we'll continue those on October 29th and 30th. And there is a lot of preparation time that it takes to get to having those meetings, and then some time after it to digest what we discuss and whatnot, so those do take some time. I continue to work with our labor lawyer regarding a couple issues, and we did have 2 internal staff members who were successful in securing positions from some recently vacated positions from retirees. I did comment in my last report that we had 2 retirements, so it's great to see our staff moving up. I want to expand a little bit on the Parkland Regional meeting. The CAO of the arm of Dauphin and myself, along with our respective assistant administrators, spent some time in the last couple weeks doing the last minute coordination and preparation for the Parkland Regional meeting, which was held on Wednesday, October 16th for area municipalities and First Nations. I think we had quite a few, or several of our council members and some staff who also attended, so that was great. I'm pleased how the day turned out and appreciated the effort that our facilitator, Ruth Mealy, put into the day. Initial feedback from participants was that it was a day well spent, and it gave an opportunity to meet or reacquaint ourselves with our neighbors. One common theme is that our communities are all experiencing similar challenges and also successes. And communication is the key to move past those challenges and build on the successes. We are anticipating some feedback from our facilitator by the end of October, and hopefully we'll be able to use that to coordinate or the next meeting with a focused agenda based on the priorities of the attendees. The second item I wanted to expand on was my meeting with the Dauphin Rail Museum. So the Dauphin Rail Museum is located in CN Station, and the city provides the museum with that. The city owns the building, and we provide that space, plus some store space in the basement for them. To date, we have not been involved in any lease of sorts between the Rail Museum and the city, but we do have similar agreements with other entities who occupy space in city buildings. We have been working for a while now to prepare a lease, and I think that we are very close to getting what we're looking for. And so there is a new president of the Rail Museum, and that is Jason Gilmore. And so I met with him along with 3 other members to get a tour of the museum and their store space. We reviewed the building in general. They pointed out a few things that we might need to take a look at on the external side, and we also discussed that lease agreement. So we will be looking towards that agreement so that's suitable for both the city and the museum. And I also wanted to congratulate Mr. Gilmore on accepting the role as president. I do look forward to working with him and the museum with their continued involvement in the community. And something to note, he was so excited about the Rogers Hometown Hockey that's coming to town in, I was going to say a couple weeks, but it's 4 weeks. So I'm going to try to make it sound as long as possible because there's lots to do. And he was very excited that the event would be focused or I guess staged out of First Avenue, right in front of the Rail Museum, between that and the WAC. And I've already started posting on social media about it, and are excited to host things and be a part of that, so that's great. And I will end by saying I want to commend our city employees for being prompt with their snow removal efforts during the recent storm on the Thanksgiving weekend. We also want to thank Manitoba Hydro, first responders, and residents who helped to keep everyone safe. We did see a lot of snow, we saw strong winds, and there were some intermittent power outages. But our community overall is in far better shape than other communities who are still without power and have massive destruction in them. And also to note, Red Cross did put us on notice on that weekend that Dauphin would be a spot for some evacuees, and there were up to 127 evacuees in Dauphin, but they had all checked out of the area hotels by October 16th. They may have checked into other hotels, or they may have went home. I don't know where that happened, but we were happy to be able to help. And that concludes my report.
Any questions of the city manager? Seeing none, call the questions. All in favor? Motion carries. Moved by Councillor Stakailos, seconded by Councillor Loughlin, be it resolved that Council accepts as information the following corporate report for the October 21st regular council meeting, that of the marketing coordinator. Any questions on that report? Councillor Adders.
Yes. I saw that there's a cohesive entrance signage for all parks in City Hall. Are we going to get a chance to preview that?
Okay, yeah, that's really good. I will comment that the budget came in a little higher than what we anticipated, so we're not sure that this is something that we will do in the 2019 year, but we can circulate that through to city councilors.
Deputy Mayor Bellmer.
And just further, it's really good to get this report to see all the things she's doing, and she's doing like a gazillion things. And she also did the advertising for the giveaway weekend as well, because she had, and that's not in her report, so yet another thing, so thank you.
And I gave away a lot of things. People were out both days. Check it out. Any other questions? I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Stakailos, seconded by Deputy Be it resolved that the finance accounts haven't been examined by council, be hereby authorized and approved as follows. Check numbers 25488 to 25555. 68 checks for $551,478.90. There's no voided checks and no electronic payments. Some of the big checks were for rec services. Their October payment, $130,907.33. Manitoba Hydro, $18,299.21. That's all our facilities. Trust is about 14,000 some. We pay for the street lights. Parkland cleaning, and that was the problem we had at the train station. And this is part of an insurance claim. $148,337.43. Ready mix of $10,219.11, and that's mainly for all the sidewalk work that we've done. This is, I think, the second payment we've made to them. And there were other checks for source deductions and that to receiver general. Any questions? Call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Loughlin. Be it resolved that council accepts as information the unaudited financial statement before FASB adjustments for the period ending August 31st, 2019, including the general fund balance sheet and general fund income statement, the utility fund balance sheet and utility fund income statement, and the reserve report. Any questions? Call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Loughlin and seconded by Councillor Stakilo. Be it resolved that council accepts as information the budget variance analysis report for the period ending August 31st, 2019. Another great job by the Director of Finance, and we know exactly where we're underspent and overspent. Any questions? I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Deputy Mayor Bellemare. Be it resolved that council accepts as information the following engineering reports for October 21st, 2019 from regular council meeting, and that of the waste and recycling report. Do you want to go into it, Bill? Or?
The numbers are there if you guys want me to talk about it, but in essence, recycling is almost identical to last year. A little bit down, and waste is a little bit up, but not much different from last year.
Okay. Any questions? Further questions of council? All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Stakilo. Be it resolved that council accepts as information the following engineering department staff report for October 21st regular council meeting, and that of the construction and maintenance foreman. And they've been very busy and connecting on 6th Avenue Northeast and certain other assisting the paving crew, etc. So any questions? Council? I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Loughlin. Be it resolved that council accepts as information the protective services report. That's wrong. regular council meeting, the bylaw enforcement report of August, September 2019. And looking at it, the bylaw enforcement officer has been busy. She, very fortunate of the diligence that our enforcement officer has, and we're seeing results. Deputy Mayor Bellmer.
And further, I think she's doing a really good job treating all people the same and making sure that all the rules are followed, so that's certainly appreciated. In her report, she talked about the need for people to trim their hedges and that kind of thing, and I mean, that's a valuable reminder, and I'm saying this on camera because we're not reading the report on camera. I was just wondering if that kind of information would be something that we would do and get our social media thing going, you know, just sort of to send out reminders to people and, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, the other thing too, I'm thinking about bylaw enforcement, it drives me a little bit crazy when our staff cleans the streets so nicely after the storms, and then people push their snow from their own yards out into the street, and then it freezes and it's bumpy and that sort of thing. So I think when people shovel their yards, they're supposed to shovel onto their own property, right, not the street. Is that a bylaw offense, or is that just it is a bylaw offense, so that's something the bylaw officer might be, yeah, so maybe that would be something to throw on social media as well. Thank you.
Councilor Myers.
Yes, I was just looking at her stats for wheatgrass, trees, and shrub notices, and there's 125, which I thought was really high. And maybe it's something that we should remind all our citizens that it is important that they do follow through with making sure that their yards are clean. I don't think that she should be having to write that many notices. I think it's just common sense, but maybe that's just me.
Thank you, Councilor. There's any other questions? I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councilor Locken, second by Councilor Stakilo, be it resolved that Council accepts as information the minutes and reports of the following committee meetings: the regular board meeting of Rec Services, Public Library, report June 18th, library report of October 4th, and budget report of September 2019, and the regular part-time regional library regular board meeting of September 9th, and the rural library technological sustainability grant. And they go through quite a process, and I think we received 51,000 in that report. So that looks after a lot of computer upgrades and technology upgrades for the 23 communities we service. Any questions? Call the questions, all in favor? Motion carried. And here's the good news. Moved by Councilor Eiler, second by Councilor Stakilo, be it resolved that Council accepts as information correspondence dated October 15th, 2019 from the Minister of Sustainable Development, Rochelle Squires, congratulating the City of Dauphin for being selected to receive an honorable mention for the 2018 Manitoba Excellence in Sustainability Awards in the Sustainable Community category. We won it in 2017, now I guess you have to give it to another community. We can't get place in a room. Councilor Adams.
I just wanted to comment, it's in my report, but I do a lot of work out in Fisher River Cree Nation. I've been working with them for 10 years, and I consider them a gold standard in comparison to a lot of communities of the same size, and I think they did an amazing job. And they've got some really projects, and great projects and program development. They're very, very innovative.
Did they win it?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Great to be here.
I would just recommend if anybody has a chance to just read on all the programs that they've implemented, it's quite astounding, actually.
Any other comments from councillors? I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Alvarez, seconded by Councillor Locken. Be it resolved that council accepts as information a letter dated September 27, 2019 from Dave Neufeld, Assistant Deputy Minister of Municipal Relations, advising that the city's grant request to the Building Sustainable Communities Program to fund the Safe Schools Route Phase 2 project was declined due to a significant number of proposals received. We have an action plan on that? Any questions, councillors, comments? All in favor? Next one we'll skip on the community journey emissions plan update.
Nice try.
Nice try.
Nice try.
Okay, this is moved by Deputy Mayor Bellemare, second by Councillor Stikilo. Whereas in 2018, the City of Dauphin secured funding from the FCM through their Municipal Climate Innovation Program, grant program to fund the development of community energy and emissions plan. And whereas the city's energy manager has worked on this project over the last year, and a requirement of the MCIP program is sharing the plan with council. And be it resolved that council accepts this information, a presentation from the energy manager outlining the City of Dauphin's community energy and emissions plan as part of the Municipal Climate Innovation Program. And further be it resolved that council and administration will review the resulting report with considering operational needs and capital requirements for 2020 and beyond. And in all, we are very fortunate that we have an energy manager, and Steve Sobring. I'm not joking. We've moved a lot in our community and on sustainability. And you say, well, why should we do anything for climate change? If we don't, somebody else doesn't, and somebody else doesn't, and we don't do anything. This way we set the bar high, and hopefully we encourage other communities, the province, Canada, to do their fair share in fighting climate change. The floor is yours, Mr. Steve Silver.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Al and Council, for the opportunity. I'm going to start my timer. I said I was going to have 10 minutes. I have a bit of a reputation that precedes me, so I promise I will keep brief. But thank you for the kind words. I do. You did steal a little bit of my thunder, but I do agree 100%. The presentation that I'm about to go over is basically a summary of what we'll be forwarding in a formal plan to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. We've been working on it for probably most of a year. And when you have a project in a community like a sidewalk or a street, we have a knowledge of what do we have to build, we have standards, we have people that know they've done it before, we have budgets, we have supervisors, management, materials, all that stuff is worked out. When it comes to reducing greenhouse gases and energy, we had to start from scratch. So a lot of the people at City Hall, looking around as well as council and city managers, executive, they've all been sucked into the vortex as we've been growing capacity. I think everybody has done a big part of putting together where we're at, and we're fortunate to be awarded the Sustainable Communities. We didn't quite get the award this year, and I know Fisher River. Yeah, they did some big things, and congratulations to their community. I know that an honorable mention is no small thing, because it also reflects the work that everybody has done as a whole. So with no further ado, I'm just going to move to my next slide. So as the Mayor mentioned, what's the point of reducing emissions? So this is just kind of the big picture. I'm not going to get into a lot of details about climate change or greenhouse gases or the types of greenhouse gases and the bigger, more detailed scientific parts. But basically, around the globe, some parts of the world are becoming uninhabitable because of climate change and the effects it's having. And the biggest contributors, they've determined, the majority of science is burning coal for electricity and using fossil fuels for transport of people and products. And why does it matter nationally? Well, as a Canadian, as Canada, sorry, we actually only contribute about 3% of the world's total emissions. So we're in that sense, we're really, really small part of the picture. And a lot of the criticism is why don't countries like the USA and China and India, why aren't they the ones that are causing the majority of the emissions take a lead in this? Except when you look at Canada's emissions per capita, that's per person, we're actually in the top 3 around the world. So there's Australia and Canada, which are very close, and then the USA. So if our population in Canada were to grow to comparably to any of those other countries, we would exceed their emission standards. So it's up to us to create those standards as we want to see growth and prosperity in our country. We want to make sure we do it the right way, and that's by decoupling emissions and pollution from our GDP. And then finally, why does the city of Dauphin want to do it? I think to make it as simple as I can, which is maybe more relatable to people in this room, is we're seeing a lot more extremes. Last winter we had the extreme polar vortexes, we've seen droughts, we've seen flooding at the lake. We almost went on a water restriction this summer. So, you know, we're dealing with issues that we haven't really seen in a long, long time, or ever. And that's common. You're seeing out in the east flooding, you're seeing fires out in the west coast. A lot of real things are happening, and those are all being attributed to climate change. And that's why, as a city, we have to be proactive and build up resiliency. One part of the project was the creation of a climate resiliency or awareness plan for the city. So we had an outside consulting company come in at basically just the cost of hosting them. And they looked at our entire city and said where we're vulnerable to some of these increased weather activities and events and strategies for coping with it. So when you're looking at a city like Portage Prairie, when we had a big snowstorm and they're without power, they would look at those things and they say, you know, going forward, this is some of the other opportunities that you should consider to kind of lower your risk. And that's just going to become more and more common. We're going to actually have to come up with solutions. So here's the agenda. I promised to keep it short. I think I'm at 5.5 minutes. We did an inventory and we set some goals. So basically, where are we and where are we going to go? How do we get there? And then finally, how do we bring everyone with us? So we want to make sure that this is a community-wide effort. It takes leadership, as we've already seen at the council and mayor level. And we also wanted to bring that throughout all the layers of the community. The inventory is one of the things we worked on extensively this year. Actually, Bill Brenner, myself, Ryan Vanderhaden, and we participated in the program. And an inventory is just a fancy way of saying is we know what is producing emissions, so buildings, fleet, and we know in what quantities, and we can pinpoint it right down to the vehicle or the building, and we know how to translate that into greenhouse gas emissions, and then we can map that and we can look at it year over year so we can have a way of actually measuring it. And then you want to set goals for reducing that. So we pay about $560,000 a year in energy, and I believe that also includes fuel like diesel, gasoline. The break is roughly about $160,000 is in our diesel, gasoline. These aren't precise numbers, but it's what we had for our 2018 numbers through Climate Smart. One of the things that was left off of there was our lagoon, the blower station at the lagoon, which is a high consumer of power, and I had to kind of add that back in. But that translates to 556 tons of CO2 in 2017, and then it went up in 2018. And these graphs, sorry, they're a little hard to read, but it basically breaks down. This is where our energy is being consumed. So blue is buildings, sewer and water is yellow, orange is our fleet vehicles, and then street lights are green. And then this is where the GHG component comes in, and it's basically the fleet. You can see the majority of it. So not a big shock to anybody in this room. Fossil fuels like gasoline and diesel. Manitoba is very fortunate because we have a lot of clean hydroelectric power, and we use it a lot. And it's one of the cleanest provinces in Canada for energy production. So we're pretty much tied with Quebec. So that's something as a province we should be proud of. Again, measuring. We have this Climate Smart for business. We attended, and basically they give you a way of collecting the data. There's a lot of background stuff that went into it, which I won't get into detail, but basically we used to know how much energy we consume by the dollar amounts, and we then had to translate it into volumes, and we weren't tracking that before. The waste disposal site, the airport, the water treatment plant use propane, and all we wanted to know is how much we're paying in propane, but not how much volume. So we had to start shifting that around in some of the payables. They did some adjusting in the bookkeeping end, and that made it a lot simpler to collect this data. And we did it in a way so that what took us months and months, well, should take us maybe a few hours a year. So that's part of the measurement. And they give you some training. They look at all the opportunities, and they allow you to network with other communities, like Denonner. We met a few other mayors. They're really positive, and they're support each other. Sometimes it can get a little lonely out there in the old world of energy management, and it's good to know other people are doing the same thing and fighting the same fight. This is the recommendations, which should take up kind of the bulk of the remaining 2 minutes. And we break it down into 5 categories. When it comes to buildings, we want to audit them and know what they're consuming. And we just do a quick walkthrough and see where we're losing energy. And then we make recommendations that are very simple and inexpensive. The level 2 is more in-depth. So when we see our worst offenders, then we dig down a little deeper. We're going to have an audit for every building. We incorporate GHG into asset management planning. Use modeling when we build new buildings. That's just software to tell you what you're going to produce, what you're going to consume before you build it. Invest in maintenance software for our buildings. Maintenance is a big part of keeping your energy costs down, just cleaning filters, simple stuff. Solar thermal, heating water is a big cost. We should investigate the use of it in at least one of our facilities. Lighting controls, digital controls for heating and cooling, upgrading our equipment at the time of replacement. So when we replace equipment like we're doing here, we don't just take the same thing and put the same thing in. So we made a big point of looking for more efficient systems so that we make the savings over time. Transportation. A lot of this involves bike lanes. It's a real passion of mine. It's one of the biggest things that we can do to reduce GHG emissions when it comes to shifting people away from driving their vehicles. That's a nice asset for a community, and the data just shows that it's not only attractive for visitors, but it also creates opportunities down the road, such as allowing electric carts, using them for public transit. Now that's a bit of a stretch. I talked to Charlotte about that. She says that's a little bit too far in the future. But that's technologies that we can use right now, and some southern U.S. cities have it. Senior Center could drive an electrified golf cart around on their pathways and lanes. And opposed to $250,000 a year for a transit bus, you could have a one-time $20,000 cost. And you can do that when you have those things. So you're kind of building capacity for other projects that will be big money savers. Building level 3 rapid charger, we've been approved for a grant, so I threw that in there. We're going to be getting one here. Cycle commuting. Energy and offsets. Planting trees have been found to be the biggest benefit to the impacts of climate change and GHG production. They call it an offset. So you plant trees annually. And yeah, I think Communities in Bloom was in the original draft, but you just create a plan to plant trees. It sounds simple, but it works. And you can beautify your community with it at the same time. And all of these things that we're doing here. So higher density land use, development energy management is an ongoing position. Reducing permit costs when you use energy modeling. Evaluating options for generating our needs. We've already done one site, Lift 1. We're looking at the public works building to include solar. We have other opportunities, and if you want to become net zero and carbon neutral, you're going to have to produce some of your own energy after you've done the efforts of reducing. And fleet, institute anti-idling policies, electrification of fleet. We saw that big orange part of the pie chart. There are now commercially available electric garbage trucks, watering vehicles, commuter bylaw vehicles, street sweepers, Zambonis. How Canadian is that? Purchase right-size equipment with increased efficiency. Not everybody needs a half ton. Discourage idling at the rail crossing. And then water and waste. We're already, Bill, I know, has been working on a lot of these already on behalf of the city, expanding some of our diversion practices. Part of that honorable mention was we are looking after our white goods. Those mattresses are getting repurposed to new mattresses. There's a lot more opportunities, including organic waste site development. Even measuring the weight of the waste per bin. Now that we have an automated arm, why don't we put a measurement of the weight so it's not just everybody gets a volumetric, but we can measure how heavy it is. Tracking GHG for the landfill separately. One of the things that came back in our data is we were being penalized for some of the regional waste collection. And so I have to dig back in and pull that out of there because it looks like the city is consuming a lot of waste, but they didn't account for the fact that outside communities are also sending their waste to our landfill. We're more of a regional landfill site. So encourage rainwater barrels and rain capture systems for irrigation. There's a lot of free water coming out of the sky and we can use it to water and it costs us no power for filtering and we're one of the few places in the world that has an abundance of clean water and we just flush it. We treat it, we spend a pile of money on it and then we just flush it down the toilet. So we can start doing a few things at least like our green spaces and sports flex grounds. Finally, the communication strategies. How do we bring everybody with us? So I think we have done a good job of becoming known as a sustainable community. When we got the honorable mention, there was a bunch of emails I got saying congratulations from people I don't know. And that's a large part of just getting out there and telling people this is what we are and what we're about. And it gets people excited. And I think who the audience for communication strategies, I think it has to start maybe a little bit more internally. Let everybody know how good of a job we're doing and then we can reach out to the community and then expand to the province. And basically just saying, because we're sustainable, we're a prosperous community and a great place to live. And then finally, we could start by, within our organization, we have some already, is creating our own champions per facility. And then we can take local media and do some presentations when we do projects that have a benefit to the environment and socially. And then we can start promoting that in our social networks and tourism. So the final thing before questions is, there is one big part that's missing in this, and tonight is the election, and we're going to know if we're going to have a carbon tax or not. And that's probably in the event of a minority government of any type. The likelihood of government successfully pulling the carbon tax away is low, and it's something that's probably going to become a reality for Canadians ongoing and around the world. And because we have an inventory, I suspect municipalities are going to be required to have an inventory. Just like what we have to report to receive fuel tax, we're going to have a GHG inventory, and we're already there. And I suspect that there's going to be more costs associated with using electricity or fossil fuels and being irresponsible. And I think that by taking a leading edge, we kind of cut to the front of the line, and we can actually bring revenue in as a result. There haven't been a lot. There hasn't been any money from the carbon tax fund being spent in Manitoba, but other provinces already are receiving 25% for building retrofits like our HVAC system. So that could be as much as $25,000 or $50,000 today. So we'll know more as they release more after this election is done. We have a few grants sitting there just waiting for the chaos to end and then us to get to business as usual. But we do have grants out for continued energy management, electric vehicles, and more. So this is something that's only going to grow, and it's great positioning for the city to take advantage of it. So I went over my time, just like I said I was going to. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions? Deputy Mayor Bellemare.
I know we've talked about having electric vehicles as part of the fleet, and I was reading something recently on Municipal World. We got a handout of a bunch of articles, and it wasn't as rosy about the opportunity to actually purchase electric vehicles to put into the fleet. So what's your read on what's happening in that whole industry? Because I mean, you also talked about electric garbage trucks and Zambonis and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's the idea and there's the reality. So what's the timeline? What do you see happening?
Yeah, some of that stuff is happening now. Like I know in BC, there's a guy I know who manages the recreation center, and I was in a training course with him, and they have an electric Zamboni. He just bought it. It was a retrofit kit, and it wasn't a big deal. He put it in, it was 30 grand. I know that Montreal is going to be putting in about 30, they're building 30,000 electric garbage trucks. The struggle is that the demand is there and it exceeds production. And so I don't know any company that would struggle with that as being a real problem, because it's like, no matter how much we build, there's a customer for it. There's actually unlimited sales if we can only produce unlimited quantities. So we're just at the beginning. I would just compare it to like the advent of the internet, where it became common in households. I think that's where we're seeing electrification. And I don't expect it'll be a slow growth. I think it'll be very rapid, especially as the generational shift. There's a definite operating cost advantage to not having the maintenance. Some of those vehicles were, 1 million mile ratings, right? Which is really hard for us to fathom. But yeah. So yeah, the reality is, I think anything is possible if you work at it and you just figure it out. I think it's just sometimes it's just not as easy as the alternative. So yeah, harder, impossible now.
Thank you. More of a comment than a question. Just want to commend you on your work on this project. It's very inspiring to see all the work that goes into it, and although a lot of these aren't going to happen, or a lot of the recommendations aren't going to happen overnight, it's great that the city's a leader in this type of thing, and that you see the ripple effect, and you see it with countless other things that happen in our community. The community is a leader, and just changing the attitude of the community and how they think and how they purchase stuff. So again, just want to commend you on your work, and when this finally gets rolled up and presented out, I know there will be a lot of members in the community wanting to jump on board. So thanks for that, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Evan.
Any other comments? Well, thank you very much, Steve. Very informative, as always. And I'm going to a Livable Cities conference in Victoria on the weekend, so there will be some more ideas I'll be bringing back to you.
You should bring some people back with you to our livable city.
Well, from my point of view, and hope I'm speaking for council, we are committed to that, I guess not fight climate change, but do our part in making our community sustainable. And my plan is, and I've talked to the city manager already, we hope to be planting 50 trees a year. And if we can go to 100 trees a year, we'll go to that. Actually it's a community with trees is so beautiful, and it makes and also contributes to lessening greenhouse emissions and all that. So, and any other part of maybe our fleet or whatever, anything that we can do to help our cause, we will certainly look at it with due diligence. Thank you very much, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you want to.
Yeah. Oh.
Moved by Councillor, we approve the report by Mr. Sobring. Moved by Councillor Sakilo, and moved by Councillor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Sakilo. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information correspondence dated October 8, 2019 from Jan Foster, Deputy Minister, Manitoba Municipal Relations, advising of the opportunity for municipalities to meet the provincial cabinet ministers at the 2019 Association of Manitoba Municipalities Annual Convention, November 25th, 27th, 2019 in Brandon. We requesting the Minister of Municipal Relations investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, ISIP, application for our lagoon. Minister of Growth and Enterprise and Trade, tax increment financing tip. I've just sent a letter to Minister Wharton on that, so they should be all prepared on Justice Rehab Corrections Facilities in Dauphin. Our annual ask on that one. And the Minister of Health, Seniors and Active Living Drug Rehabilitation Facility. We certainly need that in our, not only in our community, but for the region. Any other, and we've also, we'll have meetings with the RCMP. Yeah. Okay, any questions? All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Staccato, seconded by Councillor Loughlin, whereas the Active Living and Transportation Committee acts as an advisory committee to council on matters related to future planning of sidewalk, bike lanes, and other aspects of self-propelled non-motorized vehicles. Be it resolved, council accepts as information a letter from Joanna Wasilation, Chair of Parkland Campus Kids Early Learning Center, located at Assiniboine Community College, dated October 10, 2019, requesting the City of Dauphin consider installing sidewalks and/or bike lanes on Mountain Road and Whitmore for active transportation options for a daycare facility and college campus. Further, be it resolved that council forwards the request to the Active Living and Transportation for their consideration and response. Any questions? I'll call the questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Staccato, whereas the fall cleanup campaign as approved in the 2019 financial plan is a service provided by the City of Dauphin to help citizens remove excess yard waste by collecting waste once at each property during the fall. And whereas an unprecedented snowstorm on October 11th and 12th resulted in a significant amount of heavy wet snow and strong winds that caused damage to many trees and shrubs. And whereas the City of Dauphin Public Works Department has already completed Area 4 and partial Area 3, or Day 3, I guess, of the fall cleanup prior to the snowstorm. Be it resolved that Council approves the extra expenditure of repeating the fall cleanup in Areas 4 and part of Area 3 to help residents remove excess yard waste from the damage from the snowstorm on October 11th and 12th, 2019. And we've had many requests from citizens. The ones in Day 1 and Day 2 are okay because they can get their trees out, but in area Day 3 and 4, the pickup was made, and now we have a lot of broken branches and trees and all that, and we should help the residents clean up their properties. Any questions of council? All in favor? Motion carried. Moved by Councillor Staccato, seconded by Councillor Loughlin. Be it resolved that council accepts as information the invitations to the events listed below. The proposed watershed district regulation review session, October 30th, 2019.
I couldn't see what time it was.
Oh, I don't know.
I went to 3 or something, but just thought.
I was reading it and I couldn't find the time.
Well,
Well, yeah.
okay, thank you. And the Royal Canadian Remembrance Day service, that's the request of the mayor to lay the wreath on the City Hall here, and I've said I will do that. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carried. Well, now it's Councillor section, left or right wing. Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For me, October the 7th, I of course attended the regular council meeting here at City Hall. Then on October the 10th, I attended a marketing meeting for hometown hockey at City Hall here as that event continues to get closer. 5 days later, again here at City Hall, I attended another hometown hockey meeting. Planning continues. In case you missed it, it was announced, I believe, last week. Hometown hockey is going to happen. We talked a little bit about it. Mid-November, 1st Avenue Northwest in Dauphin by the CN station and the Watson Arts Center. On October the 16th, I attended the Association of Manitoba Municipalities Parkland Regional Meeting at the Parkland Rec Complex. Lots of great discussion there, and got an opportunity to meet some more fellow councillors and representatives. And finally, just before I move on here, just want to say a big thank you to obviously city staff and their workers, and along with emergency services and everyone for helping open up the main roads in the areas of our community following the big snowstorm just over a week ago. It's greatly appreciated, and that's my report.
Thank you, Councillor Dauphin. Councillor Staccato.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For myself, October 7th, regular council meeting, and I too just want to thank city staff for their efforts for last weekend's snowstorm. It was very prompt, they were very prompt in opening the road, so that was great. Just a couple of upcoming events I just want to make note of here. October 29th, the Take a Leap Entrepreneurial Conference is back. I think there was a little uncertainty about it last year, if it was going to continue for this year, but it is on again, like I said, on October 29th, and it'll be happening at the Parkland Rec Complex, and there's more information on their website at taketheleapmb.ca. And November 2nd is the annual Firefighters Ball at 8th Avenue Hall, and that's at 5 p.m. It's an evening event, and always a good time. And you can contact any firefighter for tickets to that. And that ends my report.
Thank you. Councillor Eilers.
Thank you. On October 7th, I joined the City Council meeting by teleconference. On October 16th, I was unable to attend the Parkland meeting due to a medical appointment, but I understand it was very well received. October 17th to 18th was involved in union negotiations. I've just started work on the CIB profile book. I also too want to add thanks to all the city crews, the RCMP, the fire department, hydro, and all emergency service and personnel for dealing with the storm on Thanksgiving weekend. This really impacted our city as well as province, and as mentioned, I think reforestation will be a real necessity due to the many trees that were lost in the province. And just as a note, the Communities in Bloom, for the last 8 years, we have been a proponent of planting 50 trees a year. And actually we did on the centennial, the 150th anniversary of Canada, we did plant 150 trees. So we've really been working on that. Yeah, we got another one coming for Manitoba. And I want to congratulate the City of Dauphin for receiving the honorable mention for a suitable community, and I already mentioned about Fisher River Cremation. It would be really worthwhile for people to look that up on what they've done in their community. And coming events, just on October 25th is going to be a real exciting day, because from 12 to 7 there's a pierogi feast at St. Vitus Church, and then you can go to, at 5:30, the Dauphin Friendship Center is hosting a zombie walk, and after you get cold and maybe scared, you can go to the wine tasting that evening. That's from 7 to 10 at the Parkland Rec Complex, so you can have a very good day in many ways. And that will be from 7 to 10 p.m. And also, as mentioned before, the Firefighters Ball is on November 2nd. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Councillor Eilers. Deputy Mayor Delmer.
Thank you. On September 16th, I participated in the regular council meeting, and on September 18th and 24th, I attended a Watson Arts Council board meeting and a building committee meeting. And besides dealing with regular business, the board is also making plans for some larger future initiatives, and more information will be coming up in early 2020. October 1st, I participated in the liaison meeting with the RM of Dauphin Labs, and we continue to make good progress on the items on our list. And recent conversations revolved around cemeteries and controlling zebra mussels in the waters over in the parkland. October 15th, I attended a meeting of the Dauphin and District Community Foundation. We reviewed the grant applications for the first fall intake that the foundation has ever had and made decisions on which groups will receive funding. And that's going to be formally announced on Wednesday, November the 13th. There is a luncheon that day at the 8th Avenue Hall. So if you have some connection with the foundation, maybe you've been a previous board member, or you are a person who likes to donate money to this very worthwhile cause, or whatever your connection might be, Charles received a scholarship from the foundation. Come check out this luncheon, and tickets are available from Kit in the office here at City Hall, and we need to have those tickets purchased a week in advance, November the 6th, so that we have numbers for our caterer. On October 16th, I participated in the first ever regional meeting for municipal representatives, which was held in Dauphin at the Aspen Lodge. The 40 people who attended this 6-hour gathering got to talk about items of concern with other municipal leaders in the region, many of whom we were meeting for the first time. Previously, there were few opportunities to converse with other leaders in the region. With the assistance of a very good facilitator, a list of priority items were identified, and surveys will be completed to identify next steps. So exciting stuff, and thank you to the staff who organized such a great day. October 17th and 18th, I participated in collective bargaining with one of our units, QP unions, and October 23rd and September 23rd, October 8th, we have a RBC Youth Grant Subcommittee. This project is going to be formally launched on November the 13th, and representatives from our local RBC will be part of that kickoff. And that kickoff is happening at that luncheon for the foundation that I mentioned earlier. Community events, thank you to Councillor Eilers for mentioning the Rotary wine tasting, because I had that in here, and I'll do a little call out for the co-op, which I know you're involved in, Councillor Eilers. The co-op provides the food for this event, and you get a little booklet, and you get to check off which food items and wine items that you like and you may want to purchase in the future. So we're very appreciative that the co-op supports this Rotary event in such a generous way. And of course, proceeds from this event go back into the community for different projects. And similarly to people who've spoken about the snowstorm, I too want to thank staff. And we have a lot of other people in our community who were involved. Like we have hydro employees and people who work for Manitoba Infrastructure. They work for the province and the emergency people. So that was a huge snowstorm, and it was really cool to see people working together and being patient and just waiting while that snow was dug out. It was an unexpected and huge event. So we appreciate you working on our behalf. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Now we'll go to the student council representative, Cameron Thompson.
On October 7th, I attended my first regular council meeting. I'm quite honored to have a spot up here and to be able to enjoy the inside perspective on how our city council works. Today is election day, and even though I am not yet old enough to vote, I believe in the importance of exercising this right, and I encourage everyone to do so. I participated in a mock election at school last week, and I can see that many students do not yet have an understanding of Canada's political parties and the principles that they stand for. It's important to be an informed voter, and I hope that I and my peers can learn all we can so that we'll be ready to cast educated votes when the time comes. I played the tenor saxophone in the DRCSS Jazz Band, and I attended early morning practices on October 8th, 9th, 15th, and 16th. I've been attending driver's ed classes on Tuesday nights. On October 15th, I attended a very informative presentation on cannabis at school by a member of the RCMP. He explained the effects of cannabis on our brains and highlighted some risks of using cannabis. I've worked 8 shifts at the Dauphin Co-op food store in the last 2 weeks. So far, I found Co-op to be an excellent employer, and I'm enjoying getting to know the other staff. Thank you very much, and that's my report.
Thank you. Hope your mother, did you get your money to your mother? My report, this weekend I was struck by in the passages column of the Winnipeg Free Press, Paul Albertson, Paul's Hauling, came to Canada in 1954 with $50 in his pocket because that's all you could take out of Denmark. And he started working as a mechanic in the oil field for 67 cents an hour. He started with one truck, and on his passing had a fleet of 1,100 trucks. In this, what struck me with the write-up, he credits the people he hired, and the success he had is from the excellent staff. And I had never checked, but in the article it says, on the website, lists an old Chinese proverb. If you want to be profitable for 1 year, grow wheat. If you want to be profitable for 10 years, grow trees. But if you want to be profitable for a lifetime, you grow people. And we are committed to that, not only as the city of Dauphin, with staff, we provide educational opportunities, but also to our communities. We have to grow our communities, and the only way you can grow it is with people, excellent people. And I was amazed that this man, not only in his organization, he sponsored many of the staff students to attend post-secondary education. And that's quite a feat. On October 9th, I wrote a letter to CN on the train lengths and delays, and it'll be posted on our website shortly. Is that right? Yeah. So we're waiting a response from them, and that response will be posted also on the website. October 8th, Dauphin Public Library meeting, 14 p.m. and talked about the Regional Council Reeves meeting and the City Manager's report. I thank both our City Manager and the CEO of the RM of Dauphin putting together an excellent agenda. And one key thing was that we sort of swept out old habits between communities. And the predominant theme, both from the First Nations and from the region councils of the RMs, and most of them were representative, is working together. And we, like before, we always had these little silos and big bad Dauphin, big bad this and big bad that. And nobody talked and nobody communicated to each other. So we're waiting the report from the facilitator, and we'll be working forward to cooperating and working on certain issues of a regional concern. And as mentioned by many councillors and city manager, I was amazed at the speed our streets were cleaned this past snowstorm. I've been told 33 hours it took to clean our city, and that was a snow that was, everybody called it heart attack snow. And it was tough on the machines and on the people, and congratulations, or thank you to all the staff that put their effort into making our city passable, and I think in really great time. Moved by Councillor Adler, seconded by Deputy Mayor Bellemare, be it resolved that council meeting be recessed at 35.
Almost 6 o'clock.